Hi, welcome to my channel. This is a video about environment pollution. We will discuss various environment related topics in this video and some others in upcoming videos. I hope you will like it. So let's get started. You are watching part 1 of the video. In this video, we will discuss 3 major pollutions like air, water, and land. Environmental pollution overview. Environmental pollution is not a new phenomenon, yet it remains the world's greatest problem facing humanity, and the leading environmental causes of morbidity and mortality. Man's activities through urbanization, industrialization, mining, and exploration are at the forefront of global environmental pollution. Major types of pollution: air pollution, water pollution, and land pollution are 3 major forms of environmental pollution. Pollution can also refer to excessive human activity, such as light and noise pollution, or to specific pollutants such as plastic or radioactive material. Globally, 9 million deaths were caused by pollution. Air pollution accounted for most of these deaths, 6.67 million, according to the report. Air pollution. Air pollution refers to the release of pollutants into the air, pollutants which are detrimental to human health and the planet as a whole. According to the World Health Organization, each year air pollution is responsible for nearly 7 million deaths around the globe. 9 out of 10 human beings currently breathe air that exceeds the WHO's guideline limits for pollutants, with those living in low and middle income countries suffering the most. Air pollution caused an estimated 1.6 million deaths in 2019 in India, the highest in the world, according to a new report. The overall pollution-related deaths were also the highest in India, 2.4 million. This includes water, lead and occupation-related pollution, the study showed.
This is a highway in India, near Delhi. The smog here was so thick, drivers couldn't see where they were going. At least 24 vehicles were damaged, as drivers kept crashing into the pileup. These conditions happen every year when Delhi experiences a huge spike in air pollution.
Are we breathing poison in Delhi?
Every 2 minutes, one person dies due to air pollution in this country.
How many people die from air pollution each year? The 2 most widely cited and regularly updated estimates for the death toll from air pollution come from the World Health Organization and the IHME's Global Burden of Disease study. Their latest estimates are very close to each other. They estimate 7 million and 6.7 million deaths per year, respectively. These deaths are attributed to both indoor and outdoor pollution and stem from man-made and natural sources of air pollution. Number of deaths by risk factor, worldwide in 2019. Here you can see in the image air pollution is the 3rd highest leading cause of death after high BP and smoking. Air pollution, the combination of outdoor and indoor particulate matter, and ozone, is a risk factor for many of the leading causes of death including heart disease, stroke, lower respiratory infections, lung cancer, diabetes and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. The Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation in its Global Burden of Disease study provide estimates of the number of deaths attributed to the range of risk factors for disease. Some of the major cause of air pollution: burning of fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, gasoline to produce energy for electricity or transportation. Automobiles, gases emitted from vehicles. Agricultural activities, the insecticides, pesticide and fertilizer emit harmful chemicals. Factories and industries, emits carbon monoxide, organic compounds, hydrocarbons and chemicals. Mining activities, dust and chemicals are released while extracting minerals from the earth. Domestic sources, household cleaning products and paints contain toxic chemicals. Construction and demolition, raw materials such as bricks and concrete cause haze and foul air. Open burning of garbage waste. Microbial decaying process, decaying of the microorganisms present in the surrounding releases methane gas which is highly toxic. Volcanic eruptions, volcanoes release enough sulfur dioxide into the air and influence global cooling. Air Quality Index. The Air Quality Index is an index for reporting air quality on a daily basis. It is a measure of how air pollution affects one's health within a short time period. The purpose of the AQI is to help people know how the local air quality impacts their health. The Environmental Protection Agency calculates the AQI for 5 major air pollutants, for which national air quality standards have been established to safeguard public health. Ground level ozone, particle pollution, particulate matter, PM2.5, PM10. Carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. The higher the AQI value, the greater the level of air pollution and the greater the health concerns. The concept of AQI has been widely used in many developed countries for over the last 3 decades. AQI quickly disseminates air quality information in real time.
Now, if you're in Delhi this morning, you are breathing air nearly 100 times the World Health Organization's safe limit in some parts of the NCR region. The air pollution in Delhi spikes to emergency levels this morning. It's actually severe in some areas of the NCR region. The AQI is in the upper level of the severe category, to be precise. The cancer-causing PM2.5 pollutant, meanwhile, is nearly 100 times the WHO's safe limit in parts of Delhi NCR.
Here is the list of top 15 most polluted countries in the world as per Air Quality Index, India. AQI defined under 5 categories: good, moderate, poor, unhealthy, severe, hazardous. Range in between 0 to 500. As you can see in the image, average rank from 1 to 4 belongs to the poor category. India belongs to rank number 5 category under moderate with rest of the other country. Here is the list of the top 15 most polluted cities in the world as per the Air Quality Index, India. As you can see in the image, the average city rank from 1 to 6 belongs to the unhealthy category and 7 to 15 belongs to the poor category. 11 states from India are there in the list of 15 top polluted cities. Water pollution. Water is essential to life. It need not be spelt out exactly how important it is. Yet water pollution is one of the most serious ecological threats we face today. Water pollution happens when toxic substances enter water bodies such as lakes, rivers, oceans and so on, getting dissolved in them, lying suspended in the water or depositing on the bed. This degrades the quality of water. Not only does this spell disaster for aquatic ecosystems, the pollutants also seep through and reach the groundwater, which might end up in our households as contaminated water we use in our daily activities, including drinking. Water pollution can be caused in a number of ways, one of the most polluting being city sewage and industrial waste discharge. Indirect sources of water pollution include contaminants that enter the water supply from soils or groundwater systems and from the atmosphere via rain. Soil and groundwater contain the residue of human agricultural practices and also improperly disposed of industrial wastes. Water pollution, a modern epidemic. One of the primary causes of water pollution is the contamination of water bodies by toxic chemicals. Dumped plastic bottles, tins, water cans and other wastes pollute the water bodies. These result in water pollution, which harms not just humans, but the whole ecosystem. Toxins drained from these pollutants travel up to the food chain and eventually affect humans. In most cases, the outcome is destructive to only the local population and species, but it can have an impact on a global scale too. Nearly 6 billion kilograms of garbage is dumped every year in the oceans. Apart from industrial effluents and untreated sewage, other forms of unwanted materials are dumped into various water bodies. These can range from nuclear waste to oil spills, latter of which can render vast areas uninhabitable. Water contamination and pollution, a growing challenge for health and biodiversity. Water on Earth exists in 2 forms, fresh water and salt water. Less than 3% of the water found on Earth is freshwater, and the remaining 97% is salt water found in the oceans. Freshwater is rare and extremely important for survival of humans and a range of animals inhabiting the waters. Most of the freshwater is not easily accessible, with 69% being available in frozen form as ice in glaciers and polar ice caps, and 30% being present under the surface in the form of groundwater. Only about 1% of Earth's freshwater is readily available for human use and found in surface water sources such as rivers, lakes, ponds and streams. Freshwater exists in India in the form of surface water sources such as wetlands, lakes, rivers, ponds, streams, springs, cave waters, floodplains, bogs, marshes, swamps and groundwater. Freshwater habitats in India are extremely biodiverse, and about 9.7% of the total Indian fauna, animals, small and large, are found to live in or near freshwater ecosystems. However, freshwater resources are deteriorating rapidly due to increasing pollution and contamination, and disappearing at an alarming rate due to human interventions. Water pollution in India. Urban areas generated 72,368 million litres of sewage every day, while the rural regions generated 39,604 million litres per day of sewage in 2020-21. This is despite the fact that 65% of the Indian population lives in rural areas and only 35% lives in urban areas. What is concerning is that out of the total sewage generated in urban areas, only 28% was treated. The remaining 72% of untreated sewage contaminated freshwater bodies. Untreated wastewater largely finds its way out through the nearby rivers, lakes, and groundwater aquifers, thus causing contamination and deterioration of water quality, the Niti Aayog report added. The Central Pollution Control Board identified 351 stretches on 323 rivers to monitor the river water quality, and found that half of them were polluted. While 45 of the 175 stretches were severely polluted, 59 were moderately polluted and 72 were mildly polluted. Notably, Asia generated the greatest volumes of wastewater, which is 42% of the wastewater globally. Also, it is expected that wastewater generation will rise to 44% by 2030. Causes of water pollution. Human beings are the main reason for the contamination of water, which can be affected in many ways. Industrial waste. There are still many companies that fail to treat their waste and end up pouring huge quantities of contaminants from their industrial processes into rivers and the sea. Global warming. Temperature rises cause changes in water composition by reducing oxygen. Deforestation, the source of underground sediment and bacteria, and the subsequent pollution of groundwater. Pesticide. When they are used in farmland, pesticide filter through underground channels and reach water networks. Oil. Sometimes crude oil or gasoline products end up in the oceans through leaks when being transported. The consequences are terrible both for water and the biodiversity living in it. Waste tips. Often responsible for soil and groundwater contamination by introducing pollutants such as heavy metals like lead and mercury to the earth and water near the site. Sewage. The UN says that over 80% of wastewater in the world reaches the sea and rivers untreated. Pharmaceutical and personal hygiene products. The WHO says there are studies that have found concentrations of chemicals from such products in sewage and drinking water. Effects of water pollution. The effect of water pollution depends upon the type of pollutants and their concentration. Also, the location of water bodies is an important factor to determine the levels of pollution. Water bodies in the vicinity of urban areas are extremely polluted. This is the result of dumping garbage and toxic chemicals by industrial and commercial establishments. Water pollution drastically affects aquatic life. It affects their metabolism and behavior, and causes illness and eventual death. Dioxin is a chemical that causes a lot of problems from reproduction to uncontrolled cell growth or cancer. This chemical is bioaccumulated in fish, chicken and meat. Chemicals such as this travel up the food chain before entering the human body. The effect of water pollution can have a huge impact on the food chain. It disrupts the food chain. Cadmium and lead are some toxic substances. These pollutants, upon entering the food chain through animals, fish when consumed by animals, humans, can continue to disrupt at higher levels. Humans are affected by pollution and can contract diseases such as hepatitis through fecal matter in water sources. Poor drinking water treatment and unfit water can always cause an outbreak of infectious diseases such as cholera, etc. The ecosystem can be critically affected, modified and destructed because of water pollution. Shocking ocean pollution statistics. 100 million marine animals die each year from plastic waste alone. 100,000 marine animals die from getting entangled in plastic yearly. This is just the creatures we find. 1 in 3 marine mammal species get found entangled in litter. 12 to 14,000 tons of plastic are ingested by North Pacific fish yearly. In the past 10 years, we've made more plastic than the last century. By 2050, the pollution of fish will be outnumbered by our dumped plastic. The largest trash site on the planet is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, twice the surface area of Texas. China is ranked number 1 for mismanaged waste and plastics. However, the US is in the top 20 with the more significant waste per person contributions. 300 million tons of plastic gets created yearly, and this weighs the same as the entire human population, and 50% is single-use only. There are 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic waste estimated to be in our oceans. 269,000 tons float, 4 billion microfibers per square kilometer dwell below the surface. 70% of our debris sinks into the ocean's ecosystem, 15% floats, and 15% lands on our beaches. In terms of plastic, 8.3 million tons are discarded in the sea yearly. Of which, 236,000 are ingestible microplastics that marine creatures mistake for food. Plastics take 500 to 1,000 years to degrade. Currently 79% is sent to landfills or the ocean, while only 9% is recycled, and 12% gets incinerated. 1950 to 1998, over 100 nuclear blast tests occurred in our oceans. 500 marine locations are now recorded as dead zones globally. Currently the size of the United Kingdom's surface, 245,000 square kilometer. 80% of global marine pollution comes from agriculture runoff, untreated sewage, discharge of nutrients and pesticide. 90% of the worldwide ocean debris comes from 10 rivers alone. Some facts about ocean you should know. How much oxygen comes from the ocean? At least half of Earth's oxygen comes from the ocean. Scientists estimate that 50 to 80% of the oxygen production on Earth comes from the ocean. The majority of this production is from oceanic plankton, drifting plants, algae, and some bacteria that can photosynthesize. One particular species, Prochlorococcus, is the smallest photosynthetic organism on Earth. But this little bacteria produces up to 20% of the oxygen in our entire biosphere. That's a higher percentage than all of the tropical rainforests on land combined. What is the biggest source of pollution in the ocean? Most ocean pollution begins on land. 80% of pollution to the marine environment comes from the land. One of the biggest sources is called non-point source pollution, which occurs as a result of runoff. Non-point source pollution includes many small sources, like septic tanks, cars, trucks, and boats, plus larger sources, such as farms, ranches, and forest areas. Millions of motor vehicle engines drop small amounts of oil each day onto roads and parking lots. Much of this, too, makes its way to the sea. Land pollution. Land pollution is a serious problem that impacts humans, animals, and the earth. The basic definition of land pollution is the destruction and contamination of the land through the direct and indirect actions of humans. The pollution results in changes to the land, such as soil erosion. Some of the changes are irreversible, while others are not. The effects of land pollution do not necessarily appear overnight. It is the result of long-term destruction from human activities. For instance, the damage from chemicals from an oil spill can take months or even years to be fully realized.
Soil pollution, a hidden reality. Beneath our feet lurks a hidden danger, soil pollution. Soil pollution can be invisible and seems far away, but everyone is affected. Soil pollution is a worldwide problem which degrades our soils, poisons the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe, posing a serious risk to food security, human health, and the environment. Soils have a great potential to filter and buffer contaminants, degrading and attenuating the negative effects of pollutants. But this capacity is finite. Most of the pollutants originate from human activities, such as unsustainable farming practices, industrial activity and mining, untreated urban waste, and other non-environmental friendly practices.
Causes of land pollution: deforestation and soil erosion. When forests are cleared for development and to meet the demand for wood supply, the soil is loosened in the process. Without the protection of the trees, the land becomes barren over time and starts to erode. Agricultural chemicals. Part of the farming process often involves the use of harmful pesticide and insecticides to protect crops. However, the chemicals can cause the land to become barren. Industrialization. The Industrial Revolution may have resulted in significant positive changes to the economy and society, but it also led to significant pollution of the land. Through unsafe disposal practices for chemicals used in manufacturing, poor regulation, and the overwhelming number of industries and factories that are polluting the land daily, industrialization has become one of the main contributors to the pollution problem. Mining. The mining process can lead to the creation of large open spaces beneath the surface of the earth. This can result in the land caving in, which compromises the integrity of the land. Mining also results in harmful chemicals, such as uranium, being disturbed and released into the environment. Landfills. The garbage found at landfills is filled with toxins that eventually seep into the earth. During rains, the toxins are washed into other areas and the pollution is spread. As the population grows, the amount of garbage filling landfills also grows. Human sewage. Untreated human waste can produce toxic gases that can seep into the ground. As with air pollution, the soil quality is negatively impacted, and land nearby can be contaminated. In addition to this, the probability of human illnesses occurring increases. Effects of land pollution. Groundwater poisoning. Depending on the soil and whether the chemicals were improperly disposed of on the land, the chemicals could end up in the groundwater. The process is known as leaching. It can occur on farms, industrial sites, and landfills. Water nutrient enrichment. Chemicals, such as nitrogen, are used frequently on farms. Only a small portion of the nutrients end up benefiting the crops. The remainder usually ends up in water that is populated by fish, algae, and other life forms. The nutrient-heavy water saps up most of the oxygen in the water, which leaves little for fish and other life. When this happens, the water is unable to support most life forms. Loss of topsoil. As chemical fertilizer and pesticide are used to maintain crops, the topsoil's composition becomes altered. The soil becomes more susceptible to harmful fungus species and begins to erode. It is important to conserve our soil to maximize land productivity. Littering. When people carelessly throw their trash on the ground, it can end up polluting the environment as a result. Shifting habitat. As deforestation and soil erosion progress, animals are forced to move to find shelter and food. For some animals, the change is too traumatic, and this has led to some dying. As a result, some species are at a greater risk of extinction. Increased risk of wildfires. The dry conditions created by pollutants in the soil help to create the perfect environment for wildfires. The fires can grow quickly because of the dry conditions and widening area of polluted land. Climate change. Land pollution can also contribute to climate change. When the land is polluted, it can absorb more heat, which can lead to an increase in global temperatures. Human health problems. The impact of land pollution is not limited just to the earth and animals. Humans can also experience negative consequences that can influence quality of life and health. Some of the potential consequences include birth defects, the development of breathing disorders, skin diseases, and cancer. Most of these develop after exposure to waste from water poisoning and soil contamination. Land pollution has also been linked to developmental deficits in children. Chemicals that are commonly found in contaminated soil and water, such as lead, can impact the child's cognitive development even if the exposure is very low. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and share the video. Also, you can watch part 2 of this video.